Do you like heart-pounding, edge-of-your-seat thrillers? Do you like thrilling mysteries? Do you like anime girls? Well, then you should watch Tokyo Revengers, which has all of those elements. Remember that show? But that's not what this video is about. It's about Summertime Render.
影の病言うやっちゃこの島に伝わる風土病みたいなもんや影の病にかかったら影を見るようになる
So Summertime Render is a show that's airing this spring season based on an anime by Yasuki Tanaka. And look, I'll be real, it's hard to talk about this show without mentioning spoilers or getting into it, so I'm gonna say right off the bat, there's gonna be spoilers in this video if you haven't seen the show or, you know, if you haven't read the manga. I'll do like a light spoiler section first to give you kind of a little taste of the premise so you can decide if you're sold on the show or not. Then after that, we'll open the floodgates and, you know, it'll be open season on spoilers. So the first episode begins with our main character Shinpei Ajiro returning home to the small island he grew up on in order to attend the funeral of his adopted sister Ushio. Within the first 5 minutes, he sexually harasses some lady and stares at his little sister Mio's panties, so you can already tell this show will be a wholesome, family-friendly experience. Basically, after losing his own parents, Shinpei is taken in by Chef Boyardee and his 2 daughters. Hope you're ready to pick a waifu. We're also introduced to some of the other island inhabitants, including this cowboy bebop looking ass cop and Shinpei's buddy, who kinda looks like a Bleach character. Is that just me? I feel like you'd fit right in, to be honest. At Ushio's funeral, Shinpei learns that she died saving a girl from drowning. Or did she? Oh my goodness. She actually has marks on her neck that suggested she may have been murdered instead. Could it be true? Who is the culprit? Is it Shinji from Evangelion? Find out on the next episode of Summertime Render as Shinpei and the gang work to uncover the dark secrets on their humble little island and bring justice to their sister. Oh wait, Shinpei is dead now. How unfortunate. Just kidding, we have 13 volumes left of manga to cover, so Shinpei gets the good old return by death restart, and so ends the first episode. So that should be enough to give you an idea where the show is going. The show is presented as a murder mystery thriller with a bit of a supernatural twist that I won't get into just yet, but if you check out that first episode, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But that's gonna end the light spoiler section. Hopefully that premise whets your willy enough to convince you to go watch the show yourself. I highly recommend it. It's engaging and almost impossible not to binge watch, with, you know, great characters and even some good action moments too. I know you guys like that. Right now your streaming options are kind of limited because it's stuck in Disney Plus jail right now, but I mean, you know, I would never encourage y'all to do anything sketchy, but I'm sure y'all are resourceful enough to find a way to watch this. Okay, but now let's get into a bit of a meatier analysis because there's a lot to talk about. And again, this is where the hard-hitting spoilers come in, so this is your last chance to turn back. But if you've already read the show or read the manga or you just don't give a fuck, then you already know the whole deal with the shadow doppelgangers that are prowling the island. And this is where the harder sci-fi supernatural elements come into play. You know, basically these shadow creatures can replicate the appearance and mannerisms of someone until they are able to kill and replace said person. Think of something like The Thing or Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I don't know why I'm referencing old ass movies when I know my audience is like 16. Either way, these shadows are the real interesting element of Summertime Render. I'll admit, when I was first reading the manga and later watching the show, I was a little iffy on this whole idea. I was sold on like a nice simple island murder mystery, you know, the Agatha Christie style, and when you introduce such a hard fantastical element into it, like, I mean, okay, Shinpei being able to go back in time and restart is already pretty wild, but it's an acceptable amount of fantasy, at least for me. But bro, I'm telling you right now, you really do have to accept that there's gonna be some hard sci-fi fantasy on here because it only gets wilder and wilder. I mean, now I think it's a really great and fun addition, especially with how threatening the shadows feel in these early episodes specifically. The reveal of the shadows and the idea that anyone could be one is wild, and the reveal that some of our main cast members have already been copied is just, you know, genuinely frightening. I wouldn't call this a horror anime, but it definitely has its horror for moments. There's a scene where the police dude walks in on Shadow Mio just staring at Mio and Shinpei's house, the real ones, and it's chilling. Especially considering we don't know 100% how the shadows work by this point, and combined with the fact that we hear like strange foreboding things from the locals that don't quite connect. You know, it all adds to this whole unsettling atmosphere, letting us know very quickly that there is something that is horribly not right going on the island. I mean, I personally love a good thriller mystery, so this is exactly right up my alley. And as I mentioned earlier, the best examples of shows like this are the ones where every episode you watch, every scene you watch, you know, it just makes you itch to find out the conclusion, to get some answers. And I get that there are a lot of people that, you know, may dislike that sort of thing, kind of dangling a bunch of questions over the audience's heads and giving them bits and pieces, but often leaving more things unanswered than not. But I think shows like Summertime Render, you know, they do it the right way, you know, like I said, at least for these early arcs. Now, to me, the keys to a good mystery involve a good setting, a good cast, and good timing, which, you know, I'll explain what I mean by that in a bit. The setting of Summertime Render, like I said, is the classic isolated island away from the reach of civilization and all its, you know, fancy TikToks and Roombas and shit. The setting of the mystery is often as alluring as the mystery itself. That's why you always see stories like this taking place in, you know, mansion in the middle of nowhere, or a snowed-in resort, or like on a train or something. It really works well to enclose your characters into a smaller space so you can really make your setting a part of the mystery. The second key is having a good cast. A mystery is all about the audience asking questions about what's happening, what's going to happen, right? And no one is gonna ask questions about something they don't give a fuck about. So surprise, surprise, your cast has to be engaging. And I'd say Summertime Render does that just fine. You know, our main character Shinpei serves well as the audience eyes and ears, and he's also competent enough to, you know, actually figure things out. This is shown when he doesn't take ages to find out that he can restart after dying, unlike a certain character. I love you though, Subaru. And everyone else is quirky and likable too. Shinpei's adoptive little sister Mio is as endearing as ever, which makes the shock of her shadow killing Shinpei hit even harder. And of course, spoilers, but Ushio is great too when we find out that she's still alive. Even putting the mystery aspects aside, liking all these characters adds to the thriller aspect of everything, as well as, you know, you're on the edge of your seat when shit hits the fan in episode 5, watching these adorably scrappy little kids get fucked up by an Elden Ring boss. And finally, a great mystery needs great timing. And what I mean by that is you gotta feed your audience some answers, but of course you gotta do it at the right time. You gotta leave the trail of crumbs until the time is right to hit him with the whole baguette. Doing this properly creates those oh shit reveals that people like me love when watching these kind of stories. Now, Summertime Render is a good mystery, and that's nice and all. Well, it's good at least for the arcs that the anime is adapting. You know, the manga's already finished, and it's questionable whether it stays good, but you know, I won't say anything and just leave that up to interpretation. But the other thing I wanted to talk about for Summertime Render is how it performs as one of those restart, loop, over and over type stories. I was calling it Return by Death earlier because of ReZero, but it's really just Groundhog Day, except with more dying. So just so we're on the same page, whenever Shinpei dies, he is able to restart at the beginning of a constrained loop, i.e. the first day he arrives on the island. However, there are a lot of caveats to this ability that are revealed later, and more that have yet to be revealed. Now the question is, what does this little gimmick add to the story, and how does it spice up the mystery thriller aspect? You know, how does it season it up, throw in a little bit of that old bay, you know what I mean? Let's look at ReZero as an example. The purpose of Subaru's Return by Death from a thematic and storytelling standpoint is twofold. One is to give him an advantage in a situation where he'd otherwise be powerless, and two is to make him suffer. Now let's look at Summertime Render. What purpose does Shinpei's looping ability serve at this part of the story? One, it's also a form of suffering. Just like Subaru, Shinpei has to watch his friends and loved ones experience horrible pain and even death at the hands of these shadow creatures. And again, episode 5 in particular hits this home because it's like the fucking Red Wedding where absolutely everything goes wrong. As you'd expect, seeing and experiencing all of this suffering just strengthens Shinpei's resolve, which I can imagine was the intended storytelling purpose all along. And again, I hate to keep comparing it to ReZero, but they both have that crucial, impactful scene where the main character gains that resolve to willingly kill themselves in order to reset after a particularly bad run-through. It works in ReZero, and it works great here in Summertime Render. Now, number 2, it also gives Shinpei an advantage to be able to compete against these fantastical, powerful shadow creatures he's up against. Being just like, you know, a regular kid. It's hard for Shinpei to go toe-to-toe with the shadows the same way other characters like Hizuru Minakata can. But finally, and I think this is what makes the series so fun, the restart looping ability gives another dimension to the mystery of Summertime Render that other similar stories just don't have. If you think about your normal murder mystery scenario, the sleuth usually gets one run through, right? A no death run. You gotta get all the clues and solve the mystery right here, right now. But in Summertime Render, it's like playing a mystery game instead of watching a story. You know, you can experience the same scenario over and over and approach it from different angles each time. You know, just off the top of my head, I'm thinking of that game that came out recently, 12 Minutes, if y'all have played that. Yeah, it's such a great dynamic to introduce to a story. You're already in a situation where you have to gather clues, get information, but now you have an extra dimension in which to gain all this info. It's, you know, traveling back in time, that dimension. Now the catch is that we're told that Shinpei's ability may be limited. Already we see that whenever he resets, he doesn't go back quite as far as the first time, and we're also told that he may not have infinite resets. All of this serves to build the tension and just add more layers onto the mystery, which is why I think this is such a great edge of your seat thriller. If you haven't read the manga, I'd love to know your thoughts on the anime so far. Let me know your theories. I know when I was reading it for the first time, I was thinking all types of wild shit, you know. Oh, and of course, I gotta ask y'all who best girl is. You know, that's obviously the most important part, right? But that's all. I just wanted to go off and ramble about this for a while because, you know, I think it's a great adaptation of the manga, and I don't know, man. Disney need to quit playing. I don't know what their plans are with the show. I guess y'all can wait for them to release it officially, but I mean, come on, let's be real. So thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, comment. You can donate to Patreon too if you want and listen to the podcast. Re-listen the room. Click on all the dumb affiliate links in my description. Buy stuff. Give me your money. Blah, blah, blah. That's the video. All right, peace.